And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Cesar Cardona. Born to a Republican father and a Democrat mother, Cesar grew up feeling divided, struggling to reconcile opposing identities, perspectives, and worldviews. In his journey, Buddhism and deep self-reflection became the key to finding inner peace, belonging, and lasting joy. He's here today to share that journey with us. Please welcome Cesar Cardona.
Thank you. You got it? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Right? I want to check this, see if it goes. It's not sliding. Mm-mm. One of the best things about Buddhism is the patience. Patient endurance. No go. Oh, there we go. Got it. Good to go. So how's everybody feeling today? Fantastic. Fantastic. Good to hear. First thing first, thank you so much for being so warm and inviting. Thank you all for having me here to speak. I'm honored to be here. And most importantly, thank you for listening with your ears and your hearts. So, joy. Apparently there's a lot of it in this world right now. Is that right? Yeah. I'm going to speak about joy. I'm going to discuss what it means to me by telling you about the story of my upbringing in my life. Now, typically when I talk about the story of my upbringing in my life and how I got to where I am today, I usually start with this photo here. Mainly because the expression that's on my face is how my childhood felt. Now, there's photos of me smiling and laughing without question, but this one felt closest to how my experience was. My parents were comprised of a New York Spanish father and a Floridian black mother. And of course, since those divides weren't enough, one was a Republican, the other was a Democrat. And what I got from both of them were inflections pouring into me from how they viewed the world, how they lived in the world, how they spoke about the world. And that consistently was just poured into me. I saw them act that way visibly. I heard the words they said to me. What's more is that they didn't get along at all. I have no recollection of my parents getting along when they were together. In addition to that, both respective extended families gave me their own versions also. My Spanish side would often give me a lot of guff for not speaking Spanish. Some of the family members in particular, one of them would hold me down, squeeze my nose, because they wanted to make it pointy like a white person, because my nose was too flat and round. On the other side, the extended family, the African American family, they said I spoke too white. They didn't understand why I listened to Jimi Hendrix. So I wasn't going to tell them that I love Beethoven. Was he?
No, that's an old saying that used to go around.
They did call him the Spaniard for a while because of his darker complexion. Yeah, yeah. What I took from that, though, is what they were telling me from both sides is, Cesar, this is who we are. Cesar, this is who you're not. And therefore, I heard, Cesar, you don't belong. So I'll ask this question for the first time today. Where is the joy for this child? I can compound that, and say that it was even personified in my life because at some point, right around this time here, I was with one parent after they had split up. The other one that I hadn't seen for a while showed up, barged in, and grabbed me to take me with them. The first parent didn't like that so much, so they grabbed my legs and pulled back. So over the screaming, over the yelling, over the threatening, my body was an actual tug of war. Now, as painful as that is, the actual pain was a psychological imprint that was put upon me going forward in my life. I have division fueled with anger. And what happens when you mix those two together? Well, I will show you. Still no. Next slide, please. There we are. You have there we go. So now it works. We'll see. You have a 16-year-old gangbanger who's selling drugs, selling guns, who's hurting people in the world. Now you can see this photo of me at 16 here, and you can see the malice, the threat, the anger. That's the personality that I took up. Now the root word of personality is persona, and that's Latin for mask. So I wore this mask to the world because I found no joy in a family, so I joined a different type of family. But if you look closer behind that mask, you can see sorrow. You can see fear. You can see joylessness. That's what I see now when I look at this photo. I don't see the threat anymore. Over time, I set up a life for myself living like this that was quite unhealthy, quite scary, and it had no joy. I was arrested. I was on probation. I had people looking for me for revenge for the things that I had done to their family members. I would have to sit with my back against the wall in any place I would go so I could be aware of the exits in case I needed to run or to fight. This is all in Jacksonville, Florida, by the way. I realized how much joy I wasn't having in my life. But I'd searched for it there, so what went wrong? I set up a landscape for myself that was filled with nothing but stress. Now I don't know if this is the right word, but I was lucky enough to, over time, my probation ended. The people looking for me for revenge started having bigger problems of their own. And the fellow gang members that I was with either went to jail, they got arrested, or they didn't make it. But yet again, I was isolated. But I knew at this moment, I have to make some changes here. This didn't give me the joy that I was searching for. So I isolated myself, stayed home, I picked up an instrument, played guitar, and I got a job. I did that for some years until I saved up some money and I was able to buy a house. Now I'm 20 years old in this photo here, and I buy this house and I say to myself, fantastic, this is the place I can put my joy. I had extinguished some of the fears and the threat of my external life, and I could live in this hut, this temple, this beehive, you name it, whatever analogy you want, and I could find my joy there. But I hadn't done the work inside. So along with this new house came depression, sadness, alcoholism, promiscuity, but not joy. What's more is that the city where I grew up, Jacksonville, was just nothing but relics of bad memories, of trauma that was given to me as a child and trauma that I was given as a teenager to others. So I had to get out of here. I couldn't do it. I couldn't live in this city anymore. So I did what every single smart person would do. I moved 3,000 miles away to a place that I'd never been before. And I ended up here in Los Angeles. Never been here, didn't know anybody. But I tell you, the weather's great, the food's great, the people are great, the culture's amazing. I should find my joy here, no? This photo was taken 4 years after I moved here. Is there joy in this photo? So, a family, a gang, a house, a city, still had not found. You don't see the malice here, the threat, or the anger from the previous photo when I was a teenager, but you still see the loneliness. You still see the longing, and you still see the joylessness. Now, I'm a big believer that your beliefs influence your actions. So my thoughts at the time of looking for the joy out in the world while feeling divided and, of course, angry, informed my beliefs about the world, which informed my actions. And my actions put me in places that I didn't need to be, around people that I didn't need to be around. And over time, you do that enough, you'll succeed at whatever you want, good or bad. In this case, not so great. Because a couple weeks after this, I was out somewhere in a place that I didn't need to be, around people I didn't need to be around, and I was assaulted by a group of men. They beat me down, knocked me out, and then they didn't stop. Now, for the weak of heart here, the weak of stomach, the next photo I made black and white on purpose, but its point is to still express the story of joy. Fractured eye socket, fractured nose, 4 front teeth completely shattered out of my face. The bridge above my teeth also shattered. The front of my tongue had been cut off. Because they stomped and kicked on me while I was unconscious, there was no blocking for me. So they also stomped on my stomach. My bladder was punctured. So the doctors had to cut me open, close my bladder, and then staple me shut. Do I need to ask the question if I look joyful here? On the contrary, I was suffering. I had went through all these iterations as a person to try to find joy. Yet here I was, 28 years old. And then I remembered at this time of how much suffering I had been given in my life, and therefore given outward as well. Now, the Sanskrit word karma, it means fruits of action. So it's the fruit that you put out, and in there is a seed. And that seed grows another fruit of action, and the cycle keeps continuing. I didn't know this at the time, as I wasn't a Buddhist, but I remembered the Buddhists had a conversation, or they had a lot to say about suffering. So when I was able to walk again and talk again, I brought myself into a Buddhist temple. And I walked in, and I sat down, and I closed my eyes. And at some point, I felt something different that I hadn't felt before, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So, the next day I did it again, and the next day, and the next day, and so on and so forth, until finally my eyes opened up and I recognized that there was a bit of space between my thoughts and myself for once. And the illusion of the narrative that I was giving myself of it's me versus them, I don't have a home, I can't find joy, let me go find it out in the world, was exactly that, an illusion. I found out that there was no home, no gang, no family member, no city that could change it. There was no geographical solution to an emotional problem. So what did I do? I did the work. Meditated, work. Therapy, work. Endless crying, a lot of work. But at some point, I could feel changes occurring. I could feel something else in my life that was shifting. I could recognize that the actual thing I was looking for wasn't external. And things started to change in my own life, in my personal, my internal life, and therefore in my external life. And then I was rewarded. I was given a gift by the monks at the temple. An upasaka robe. They saw the changes that occurred in me and the time I was putting in with them as well, and they gave me this gift. Do I look like I have joy in this photo? I see peace. I see calm. I see understanding. There we go. How about this photo? The Buddha said a lot of things. He became enlightened at 35, he died at 80, and he spent most of his time just talking. So he had a lot to say. One of the things he said in the Attadipa Sutra was, be a lamp unto yourself. Don't seek refuge in others. Seek refuge in yourself first. He also says that a seeker has to go the way. The Buddhas, we just pointed. So for once, I finally recognized that there's a fundamental difference of a shift. I had been looking every single place for joy except the one that mattered the most, right here. But I had to peel away some of the anger and fear and thoughts of division in order to find it. There's an implication that what you need is right there. My mother, her and I get along amazingly now, would always sing these songs to me. And one particular was Frankie Beverly and Mays. And the words are, if you get confused, don't go nowhere else. You're going to find all that you need right there in yourself. Once I found that, I was not going to let it go. It took me 30-something years to find it. Why am I going to let it go now? That lets me know that any place I go actually is peaceful because the peace lies within me. So doing the work, and I extend this same to you all, doing the work is totally worth it. Now it's scary, don't get me wrong, but as a great man said, the cave you fear holds the treasure you seek. That's Joseph Campbell. I stand here as a public speaker giving you words, because words are the candlelight to the cave of the psyche. And in that cave lies the best version of you waiting. So I would say to you, find that inner cave, as dark as it may be. You'll find your inner monster without question. But did you know the etymological definition of monster is 3 different words? It's monstrum, monet, and monere. And when you put them together, it means to remind you to think about the divinity within and without. Open your phones, you see a bunch of monsters all the time. Watch politics, you'll see monsters all the time. But let's not forget the ones that can live within us, that are rooted in fear, that are rooted in judgment, that are rooted in anger. Before I can handle any of them out there, I got to make sure I handle the one in here. And now I stand at this juncture in my life where I feel more peaceful and more clear than ever. And I extend the same thing to you as well. Remember that you are a conscious being having a human experience. Your body changes, your hair changes, your thoughts change, your friends change, your taste in music changes. Every single thing from when you were 5 years old to now has changed except your conscious awareness of it all. In your waking life, in your dream, and your deep sleep. The consciousness that saw it all is who you really are, and that is peaceful. Because everything derives of consciousness. And now today, I'm able to say that this child that's with me feels heard. He feels seen. He feels peaceful. And because he's with me every day, he's here with you all right now. And he's here to tell you that every single one of you are beautiful. So find that joy. It's not as far as you think. You don't got to join a gang to do it, which I'm sure you probably won't. You don't have to find a house. You don't have to find a location. All of those things are bonuses. They're byproducts of the peace you find from within. Joy and happiness is the bouquet of the soil of peace. So seek peace first, internally, and everything else starts to illuminate. Put out all the pain. Put out all the sadness and the sorrow that's in the world. Don't get me wrong, it's here. We have to work on it without question. But first comes the peace from within. The word nirvana is Sanskrit. It means to extinguish, to put out. That's an implication that nirvana is putting out a fire, a flame. That's another implication that it's not a destination. It's right where you are. Your joy waits for you there. So put out the flame of anger and fear. Now, if I may, in closing, my whole life is dedicated to extending this to you. If any of this resonates with you, I highly want to invite you all to connect with me on newsletter. I have a QR code here if you want to scan it. I send out 2 to 5 newsletters a month. It's just stories of good things happening in the world. Evidence-based good things happening in the world. Since we have the news telling us how much bad things there are, they took care of that job already. I'm not worried about that. There are great things happening in the world, and I want to share those. And we're going to share companies that care about their employees, that care about the environment, and that hold their investors accountable. And we can put our dollars to that. I found the peace within, and now I have to go out here and help make the change. The way to make the change in this capitalistic society is with your dollars. So put your dollars there. And on this newsletter, I share those. But what's more is that I want to share more connection with each and every one of you. There's no sales pitch here. There's nothing to buy off of this thing. We're just sharing information that helps us and connects us more. And lastly, the last thing I want to say is always remember that whatever you're seeking that's illuminating is way closer than you think. You ever been looking for your phone and it's on your face? You ever lost your key, it's in your pocket? Your peace and joy is even closer than that. Thank you all for your time.